Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of TBR. And I'm George Binns. And we have with us this evening our State Senator Joan B. Lovely. Welcome, Joan.
Thank you, George. Nice to be back.
So what's been going on downtown? You settled the budget finally.
We did. We actually settled it on time.
Oh, wow.
Yes. It's really the first in 13 years that I've been in the legislature that we passed a non-time budget, yes. Actually the governor's already made some freezes to it because of our revenue uncertainty, with uncertainties coming out of Washington and certainties. We've received some cuts. We have to just now really watch very closely the state wallet to see how we're going to be able to meet our needs and our wants. So we'll know better in the fall what the revenue picture looks like.
Well, one of the problems I've seen show up is that the governor canceled some raises or bonuses for some of her staff, and now she's thinking of reinstating them. And at the same time, the courts are dropping cases because they can't pay the
bar advocates.
Yeah.
Right.
The public defenders. So
I saw that.
Does that come out of the state budget, or is that dependent on a federal grant? Or?
No, that's state budget dollars. Yes. So and the public defender issue is very serious.
Yeah.
We have the Committee for Public Counsel Services, CPCS. Is about 20% of all of our public defenders fall under CPCS. 80% are these bar advocates, who the lawyer of the day, who will go in and take those cases as they come in, and we depend on them greatly. And they in the district court, they get $65 an hour. If they were in private practice, they'd probably get $300 to $400 an hour. But they do this work. They like this work to be able to defend people who need defense, and it's a constitutional right. So we're hopeful that this will be able to be settled, and that their $65 per hour can be increased. Hasn't been increased in decades.
Oh yeah, I can remember when $65 used to be real pay. That's a long time ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and these individuals, they don't get health insurance, they don't get unemployment insurance, so they also have overhead, and so it doesn't go very far.
Yeah, and like you said, it's a serious problem. I think one judge dismissed 100 cases
under the Valley protocol. So there's a case.
You can't provide them with defense. What are you going to do? Hold them in jail forever?
Can't.
I mean,
that's right.
Gets to a point.
Right.
The other thing that got interesting is you were working on this bill about child sex abuse.
Yes.
How did that come out? Is that still in process?
So it's in process, and I'll tell you, George, about when you talk about child sexual abuse, people shut down. They don't want to think that that could happen. It happened in the Archdiocese, not just in this country, all over the planet. But I'm not singling out, the Catholic Church. It happens right under people's noses, and they don't know it. So I have filed many bills, several bills, 5 actually, on child sexual abuse prevention, so training, so people know what to look for when they wonder what's wrong with this child. If they seem withdrawn or they cry a lot or whatever it might be. There are symptoms, so to speak. And then I filed a bill that we did get passed in the Senate last session, and I'm hopeful to get it passed in the House and Senate and to the governor's desk. And that's to remove the statute of limitations for a civil case. So right now, you can sue your perpetrator up until you're 53 years old. And after that, the statute runs, so it expires. What's the magic age of 53?
Yeah.
Why? It's all based on evidence, so someone would have to have a strong case to be able to bring an action. But why 53 years old? And many states have removed the statute of limitations. You can bring an action at any time, and I believe Massachusetts should follow.
Yeah. So you said it's been through the Senate, it's passed. The House has to approve it. Then what? The governor has to sign it?
Then it goes to the governor's desk. The administration has signaled, their approval. They want to be able to see that we're doing something.
Yeah.
So we're still working with advocates, with survivors, with the child advocate, to perfect these bills. But I'm of the don't let perfection be the enemy of the good.
Yeah.
Let's get something done.
Yeah, you can always amend it later if it doesn't.
You can if you have to, but
Gotta get something on the books.
yes, we need stronger laws.
Well, the other thing that happened in Beverly recently, there was a meeting at the church talking about rental housing and similar problems. How did that turn out?
So there was a meeting at the First Baptist Church,
Yeah.
and so Representative Bowen and I went to that, and they wanted our support on 2 bills, and that's to increase affordable housing, increase more affordability, more opportunities for rental assistance, which I support. Looking at our housing market right now, especially our rental market, it is out of the roof.
Yeah.
I don't know how people pay the rent and be able to buy food.
Yeah.
So we really do need to take a hard look at that, and we are. We just did a big Affordable Homes Act last year where we did over a $5 billion bond bill. And those are actual dollars because even though the governor has to authorize that bonding money, but that originated out of the governor's office. So she's absolutely 100% behind that. And we're already seeing a building of affordable housing and housing that people can afford to live in.
Yeah, that's the discussion I've had several times with Andrew DeFrenza.
Yes.
Between affordable housing that meets the state mandated level
Right.
with some percentage of median income, and then there's the housing that people can afford, and it's a different game. And
It is.
and so, what's this bill going to do?
So it puts $2 billion towards public housing repairs. So a lot of our public housing, our housing authorities, have, those are buildings that were built in the 50s and 60s, 40s.
Yeah.
And not any meaningful upgrades. So we want to make sure that the housing stock that we have is good to live in.
Yeah.
That it's decent and people feel good about it. So that's happened here in Beverly, over on Balch Street. They've redone those one-story buildings over there behind the middle school. They're beautiful inside, but they needed new kitchens and new baths and upgrades. So that money goes towards that. We also put money towards rental alternatives. So the ADUs. Accessory dwelling unit.
Yeah.
I actually have an ADU in my home.
Oh.
Yeah, my husband and I built a home last year, and we put an ADU above the garage. So we want to be able to age in place, and it gives us some rental income, and we have an affordable unit, and we have a single woman who we happen to know, living above us. So it works out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing that needs to be happening, but keep hearing all the pushback about, well, it's going to raise the traffic in the neighborhood, or what kind of people are going to be in it. So
Right.
there seems to be a concern that, yeah, it's a good idea, but not here.
Right. Well, there's an alternative to that too. So, in-law apartments, which in some communities weren't legal. But now with this ADU, rent to your son or your daughter. I mean, I have 30-somethings that are still wanting to get into the housing market to buy a house.
Yeah.
Can't reach it.
Yeah.
So there you go. You can rent to your children and at a decreased rental rate because it's affordable, and you kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah. So it can be made to work, and that's what it is.
It can be.
The other half of the problem is just have to build more housing.
We do. We do.
And what it comes down to is you can't afford to build one house on one lot and develop a significant change in the availability. So it's got to be multifamily housing.
Right.
And there was a time when one of the paths to success was buy a 3-decker.
Right. Right.
and live on the first floor and rent out the top 2 floors.
That's right.
Or have an unofficial ADU where grandma was up on the 3rd floor or some combination. And that has fallen from favor, and I think that's something that needs to be talked up again.
Right. So that's why we put these ADUs by right in this housing bond bill. And so, someone can put a unit in their home to create an affordable unit and receive rental income. Some people, are anxious about it because they said, well, I bought in my single-family neighborhood and I don't want it to turn into a multifamily neighborhood. But typically it's a 1-bedroom. In our case, we know the person, or it could be a family member.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it can be made to work.
It can. I believe it can be.
Yeah, and it really comes down to, though, we've got to have more multifamily units. And the development down on Rantoul Street, what I'm hearing is that's about the end of it. Maybe we can do 1 or 2 more down there. The Meineke property.
Right.
They jumped in and got grandfathered into the 5 stories, and I think there's another building or 2 that's being considered that. But it's really just a drop in the bucket compared to what's available for a need in Beverly. And it comes down to this issue of, hey, the people who work here ought to be able to afford to live here.
That's exactly what it comes down to.
And I don't know how to get that to happen. That's really
Right.
yeah.
Right. Well, so this bond bill, there's $60 million for like modification loan programs. So if people want to modify their home, it's for seniors and the disabled. So people can again stay in their home. What's really hurting our real estate market, though, is the interest rates. So you're not going to trade your 2 or 3% interest rate on your home. Maybe you want to size up or you want to size down.
Yeah.
But now you're looking at 6%, double.
Yeah.
You're not going to trade that in. So that really has hurt. That's why there's so little inventory on the market, and people aren't moving. And so, yeah.
And I mentioned it before, but there's an advantage to having small units that when all the kids move out of the house and you can't handle this monster anymore,
Right.
Move someplace that is manageable and up to date, so it doesn't need to be constantly worked on.
Right.
And that frees up the market for family-sized houses. And there's so many good ideas out there that just aren't happening.
They're not happening.
And that's the challenge, I think.
It is. We've had a good economy, and it would be great to see interest rates come down. I understand the Federal Reserve. They want it. They are keeping inflation in check, and that's the whole purpose of these higher interest rates. But it hurts other opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we get into some of the other issues that are happening downtown is one of the surprises with the millionaires tax was collected more money than you expected.
Double.
And I've seen articles that the number of millionaires is increasing in the state. And
they're not leaving. I know that people, when that passed, and that passed at the ballot box,
Yeah.
the millionaires tax. So the voters who voted that in. And, when we anticipated we would collect about $1 billion, and it's over $2 billion. The
Yeah.
first year it collected $1 billion. The second year it collected $2+ billion.
Yeah.
And so that is in a dedicated account that does not go into the general fund, and it is split between transportation and education. 50-50 split, sometimes a 60-40 split, but those dollars are going right back into the cities and towns, and I was able to get quite a few earmarks from that, and those were not frozen because those dollars sit in a dedicated account. They've been collected. So, $250,000 for a roundabout over at Brimble Ave and Dunham Road and Route 128,
Yeah.
over there. It's, they've got the one roundabout by Whole Foods.
Yeah.
There needs to be a second one because
Well, Dunham Road is another challenge that
it is.
I would like to see the road extended all the way out to Essex Street so that you can have a separate entrance. And you don't have to go through the residential area to get to all
Yeah,
the
well,
development.
there's a plan for that. There's a flyover bridge that.
That's the other one too, yeah.
Right, right.
But that's been talked about since Scanlon, so.
It has,
Yeah,
and
so-
that's a big funding source. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
I think that's part of the problem. It gets to be such a major project. And at the same time, we're looking to develop Folly Hill, and that gets into an access problem onto
It
128.
sure does.
So
Sure
a
does.
lot of the opportunities in Beverly really get tied up with getting state approval and state funding and getting into the position in the line.
Right. Well, Folly Hill, that's interesting because that zoning was passed decades ago, and it's for high-density housing. So, so the residents that live up there are not very happy about that. They don't want another 300 or 400 units, 300 or 400 more cars, or double that, depending on
Yeah.
how many cars in the family. And you're right, there's one way in and one way out. So how does that get fixed? That has, the developer has to take some responsibility for that as well. You just can't come in and say, well, build me a new road because I'm going to put this housing here. Developers have to participate in that. So, they're working on that as well. But, yep, you're right.
But again, this is where the difficulty comes, is just coordination between the city and the state, and getting to the point of getting all these dots, I's dotted, T's crossed,
Yeah.
and they're all different, and everybody's got their own veto, and nothing happens.
I'll tell you,
So,
MassDOT is terrific to work with. They're very responsive, and I know that the Hall Whitaker Bridge and the Kernwood Bridge are, creates a lot of heartburn for people, especially the Hall Whitaker being closed. How
Yeah.
did that happen? Seems like that happened overnight, even though it was coming for years. But it did happen overnight.
yeah,
But MassDOT, we have really pushed them to expedite that bridge. But that needs local, state, and federal approvals.
oh, yeah,
And then Army Corps of Engineer, it's a waterway. So,
yeah, the Coast Guard gets involved. And,
yep. I mean, the planning is underway. Those permits are
yeah,
done, and so they'll be in the ground next year with that.
yeah, and that's another basic problem with the permitting. The city got into this where they're going to have the Bass River dredged, and they're all set to go, and they got the crew there, and they said, wait a minute, you can't dump that stuff in the ocean,
Right.
So there's a challenge to be
That was a
worked
20-year process to get to that. And then, when the dredger showed up to get the coordinates, okay, where is it? Where am I? And then, and then the Army Corps said, nope,
in. Yeah, the Corps of Engineers
you're not
says,
touching it.
you can't dump that stuff in the ocean.
Right.
Oh,
I know.
well. Yeah, so there's some decisions made that leave me scratching my head.
Yeah.
And the best, so it's one of the challenges I wish you luck with.
Thanks.
Yeah. And back to the millionaire's tax, I think one of the reps or senators got $25 million for a garage.
That was the speaker.
Speaker,
Speaker
yeah.
of the House for a garage in Quincy.
Yeah,
Yeah, that raised some eyebrows.
yeah. And, Beverly could use a garage downtown.
Sure.
And that's basically one of the problems that Beverly faces right now is the lack of parking. And we got into buying this dollar store property
Right.
just to get the parking lot, 7.3 million. It's another thing. You get into this whole issue of having a workable city, and a walkable city, and the issues keep coming up of where you're going to park the cars,
Right.
because invariably you've got two workers in the family, husband and wife are both working,
Of course.
and I seriously doubt that they're working at the same place,
Right.
so they need two cars,
Right.
and it gets to be a parking problem. And so again, this gets into this whole issue of affordable housing, and how do you make sure that, okay, you've got enough parking space to go with these units.
Right.
And the next one that gets to be interesting is if the EVs ever come back again, which they probably will, where are you going to charge them? And
Right.
you're not going to run an extension cord from your apartment out to your car. And every one of those cars is going to need to be charged overnight. So this whole problem gets to be very large and very complicated and very integrated.
Right.
And what I get concerned about is, do we have somebody at the system level looking at these things and saying, how do all these pieces fit? And do they fit?
Right.
And
Yes, the answer to that is yes. So, looking at it, from a flyover, so we just passed a law to require condominium units. They can't deny a unit owner from being able to charge their EV. And maybe their unit is, not right, their parking space isn't right outside their unit, so they can figure it out. But they can't deny them the opportunity, because we had to respond to, an issue, and so we did. But we want to make sure that there are charging units, on highways, not just at rest stops, because we have fewer of those than we did, back in the 50s and 60s. So there's a couple of charging units right in the State House, right in the garage where I park.
Yeah.
I don't have an EV, but they're there for those that do.
Yeah. One of the quirky things is in 1937, GE got a patent for a parking meter and a charging station.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know whatever happened to it.
Wow.
I never saw one built.
Fascinating.
But it's been going on for some time, and it just takes it so very long to get something to happen. And again, with the EVs, like you say, we need more charging stations. We need more access to them. And
Yep.
current plans with the government is to cut out the incentives. So
Right. So
to some extent, the people that have got an EV are going to be sort of left in the lurch. That
Yep.
Now where do I park it? They shut that down.
right.
Yeah.
When administrations change, so do priorities.
Yeah.
So the priorities change, away from like offshore wind and more towards nuclear, and back to fossil fuels. And so when that happens, and the prior administration was in favor of it and making big plans, Salem is planning a marshalling port, a marshalling operation for offshore wind right at where the power plant is. That will still get built out, that port, because by the time the next administration, who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe they won't want to do offshore wind either. It's a bit of a gamble, I would say,
Yeah.
but things change, so then you have to change with it.
What's the current attitude in the state towards offshore wind?
Very positive.
It's still positive?
Yep. So that's with the Mass Clean Energy Center, which is located right in Charlestown. They actually have a testing facility there, just under the Tobin Bridge on the Boston side. Yeah, and that's where they test the blades. So you go into this giant building. They have to actually cut the tip of the blade off to get it to fit. But they're in there doing all of the vibration testing. For example, what happened off in Nantucket?
Yeah.
Why did that happen? Why did those blades fail? And so they'll figure that out. But it's the only testing facility in the country.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Yep. It's fascinating. They do tours. So if you ever want to go and see it, it really is really fascinating. But the Clean Energy Center, we're working closely with them in the offshore wind space, even though a lot of those contracts have been interrupted because of the funding source, because the priorities changed.
Yeah. And one of the other interesting things is 37% of the energy in this country is electricity. And that means there's a heck of a lot of other stuff that's creating energy to use, transportation particularly, and I think the governor had to cancel a mandate for electric trucks by 2035, I think it was.
Postpone,
Because that's a problem that a contractor isn't getting enough incentive to buy a truck when he can buy a diesel one for half the price.
Sure.
We're in that situation with the school buses. The electric school buses cost twice as much as the diesel. Well, the city gets a rebate or benefit from them, but somebody's got to pay that extra 50%. And the question comes down to, could that money be spent someplace else on some things that are more necessary than electric school buses?
It's a balance, we really are trying to reduce our carbon footprint, and that's how we do it. Buses are not the cleanest operating vehicle, especially if you're burning diesel. And so it's a balance.
Yeah.
How do we balance that? Clean air, climate change. I think we're really in that area where we're trying to balance these things as we wean off of fossil fuel at some point in this century.
Yeah.
Because you can't deny climate change.
Well, the climate is changing, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And can we do enough about it quick enough to make a difference?
Right.
That gets to be the real challenge.
Yeah.
So, had another half hour of fun, believe it or not.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Already.
Well, thank you very much for joining us this evening and sharing with us what's going on downtown.
Thank you, George.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Glad somebody was watching it for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us this evening. And as I usually mention, my email is in the credits. And if you got a comment, send me an email. And if you got a longer statement you want to make, there's room for you here at the table. Thanks again for joining us, and stay tuned. We'll see you next time.